Hey guys, Aubrey here with Erie Motorsports. So today I've been working on the race car, but I'm waiting for some parts to come in. So I'm doing a quick review and on this new one-wheel tire I just got in, and I'm going to talk a little bit about hubs and tires because I've done a lot of swapping out hubs and tires on these things, run them quite a bit. I've got 4 of them total for the whole family. And we've got a big property and run them all through the woods and back trails and muddy roads. And so I've been swapping out tires and hubs and trying different stuff. And I have currently a GTS, my board is a GTS with a 5-inch MTE hub. But I'll go over all of that. And I want to talk about this new 655 Enduro that the Float Life just came out with. Which I haven't actually put on yet. So I'm going to show you the tire I've got on there, show you the tires on my other ones, talk a little bit about different options and why they're good and why you would want to switch to a different hub. And then we're going to swap out the Enduro and then review it. So the first thing to talk about is the numbers. So on the side of the tire, it's going to have the size. And this is an 11.5 by 6.55. So 11.5 is going to be the overall diameter, 6.5 is going to be the width, and 5 is going to be the hub size. So, you know, hub size is just going to be set to whatever one wheel you have unless you put an aftermarket hub on. I guess the first thing to cover is why would you want to go with an aftermarket hub? So this is a 5-inch hub. They're quite pricey. But you can see how much sidewall I have right there. And this is the stock GTS hub. And you can see how much sidewall I have there. This is an exceptional tire. This is the GTS performance tire directly from Onewheel. Now these Onewheels, they all started out running go-kart tires. This is a kart tire, and this is a kart tire. But they've started making one-wheel specific tires. And this is a one-wheel specific tire, and this is a one-wheel specific tire, and those ones are all specific for one wheels. And the big thing that you'll notice is the profile. So let's put this on here so you can see. Let's see if I can get this set. So you can see pretty well here, I think, the gap. Hang on a second. And so what you'll notice is there's a nice little flat section right in the center for probably a good 2 inches on this one. And then just a nice slight curve that gets a little bit steeper as it goes along. So I'll get this from a few different angles. But essentially, what this allows you to do is get a nice carvy turn. So when you want to turn, you've got this nice stable flat section in the center. So when you're cruising straight, it goes pretty nice and smooth and flat and straight. But when you want to turn, nice consistent roll. So whereas, now this one isn't inflated, so it would be a little bit more of a bulge in the center. But what happens with these flat tires, when it's just flat, is that it doesn't want to roll. It doesn't want to roll. It really hates being right here, doing a nice carve. It really doesn't like that. It wants to tip this way or that way. And it does pretty decent on the straights. But what you'll find sometimes if the tire's too flat is that if you catch an edge a little bit, it'll want to do this. And it'll rock from side to side and it'll want to buck you off. The other thing that you'll find with flatter tires is that if you roll up on a rut, it's either there or there. There's nothing in between. So a nice rounded tire is going to roll up on there on a slight angle. So I really like this factory GTS tire. I think this is the best GTS tire out there. I would take it over the Enduro tire, but the Enduro tire is very nice. I've had them too. But They really nailed the performance on this. But as you can see, very little sidewall. So what ends up happening is you go into the woods and you start hitting roots and bumps, and this just kind of hammers you and it bounces your feet right off of the foot pads. So you're trying to go over the ruts and it just jolts you, and your foot comes down and lands somewhere where it's not supposed to be, and then you end up crashing. So this is a 6.5 hub. So let's talk about hubs just a little bit. This is a 5-inch hub with all that sidewall. This is a 6.5-inch hub, and then you're, you can tell that my one wheels are well used. They get pretty muddy. The XR is running a 6-inch hub, and the Pint and Pint X are running a 6-inch hub. But the Pint is limited to how large a diameter it can run. So it's maxed out with this 11-inch by 5-inch by 6-inch enduro tire. And this is a really nice tire for the Pint X. Definitely the top tire I would recommend. The only thing that you'll find with these enduro tires is that they have a tendency, just like the slicks, to want to slide out when it gets muddy. So the Float Life has come out with a Pioneer tire, and I think that might be better, but I think they only make it for maybe the GT and GTS. Not positive on that. But this is a really nice upgrade. It's larger. So this is a 11 by 5 by 6-inch tire. And the factory one, I believe, is a 10.5. On the Pint and Pint X, it's a 10.5, 4.5. So slightly narrower, slightly smaller in diameter. So this is more stable, better carving, and all around, and a little bit of tread, all around much better tire than this factory Pint X tire. Same for the XR tire, really good. It is a 11, 6.5, 6. And I believe that is the same as the factory one-wheel tire, though they might have an 11.5. I'm not positive. But really nice tire, nice and carvy, major upgrade for the Pint X. Or I'm sorry, for the XR. So, do you need to upgrade to a 5-inch hub? The 6.5 is great for most people. If you're doing dirt roads and you are doing gravel and roads and paths and just, standard fare, you're not taking it off-road, you're not going crazy with it, and you're not bumping up over curbs and stuff like that, this tire works fine, and it handles great. So we're going to see pretty soon how this 655 compares to that. And this is a 11.5 by 6.5 by 5. So it's 1/2 inch narrower than this. Otherwise, the dimensions are the same. Right here, we'll go to the Vega tire that's on here. This is a Vega W6, and it is great for the mud. It is a, where's my sizes on here? Here it is. It's an 11 by 6 by 5. So my 655 is going to be 1/2 inch wider, 1/2 inch taller, same hub diameter. And what I'm hoping for is this is going to give me a better carve and better stability. Because what I run into with this is a lot of the same stuff that you get from having a flatter tire. Now this isn't super flat, but it's not shaped for one wheeling either. So when I hit ruts, I really notice that it likes to kind of throw me around. and you can see that it does have a bit of curve to it, but not as dramatic as I'd like. So it's kind of an in-between, and when it's really muddy out, it's worth having this tire. But I'm hoping we'll be out of the mud season soon. I might throw this tire back on for a couple weeks and then switch to this, but we're going to put this on to test it out. Another option for the 5-inch hub is the 555. So the 555 is, I believe, 11 inches by 5.5 inches by 5. So it's an inch narrower and a half an inch smaller in diameter, which means it's very similar to the Pint X tire, if you want to see what it's going to be like. You know, it's a half an inch. It's a half an inch wider than the Pint X tire. It's supposed to be very carvy. That's one of the few tires that I haven't tried out. I like to have a good stable tire because I get into all kinds of different situations, and I've come off the one wheel a few times at high speeds, and having a little more stable tire that's still carvy is what I'm looking for. So I want the stability of the 655. And I went with the mid compound on this because I weigh about, I'm about 195 pounds, but by the time I get my clothes on and everything, I'm at like 210. And then a lot of times I'm taking a kid with me, or I've got a backpack on, or I'm carrying stuff down to the house. You know, packages come in, I'm taking them down the house through the woods. And so I'm often close to 300 pounds on this thing. So I went with mid compound, that's why I have the GTS. Also, real quick on the hubs, the MTE hub, the 5-inch hub that I got there, there's different magnet strengths. The Float Life just came out with a really good video on which hub you should have. Basically, if you've got a GTS, you should have an N52 magnet in it. That's what I got. It's got really good torque at the low end, and because the GTS is higher voltage, it really doesn't take away from the speed at the top end. If you're really light and you need to really rip on it, I guess you could go with a 48 magnet or a 42, but I think the 52 is the way to go for the GTS. If you're on a GT, then it would depend on your weight because it's going to make more of a difference. So anyways, we'll go ahead and get this swapped out. And like I said, this isn't my typical video. So I usually don't do one-wheel videos because one-wheelers really like to make YouTube videos. So there's tons of them out here. But this tire just came out, so I thought I'd drop a review of it and give you some of the information on all the different tire sizes and hub sizes and comparisons and whatnot. So let's get this swapped out and test it out. All right, so I got an idea before I go and change this tire. Go try it out. So I got this GoPro mount. I'm gonna try to fasten it on the back of the one wheel and stand on this metal plate and see if I can get a good view of the tire when I'm carving for you. So this may not work, in which case you guys won't see it, but I'll give it a shot here. I have to get started and slide this under my heel. Oh, this is gonna be tricky. Let me try angling this a little bit differently. Well, hopefully my GoPro survives this. Or I guess it's actually a DJI Action. So, I don't know if you can see, because I can't see, how well this carves. My shop is a total disaster right now. So, but it does decent. Like, it's not nearly as good as the GTS tire, but it'll roll up on an edge, unlike a stock XR tire. So anyways, we'll see how that comes out. All right, guys, so all I've done is take it for a spin around my shop here, but this is exactly what I'm looking for. I like the stability of it. I like the carvability of it. Let me turn this around here and give you an idea of what this is looking like. Right? So, good, wide, flat section here. Nice curve coming off of that flat section. I'm trying to get in here close so you can see, but you know, I don't think it's quite it's not quite as drastic on the edge here as the Performance GT Performance tire. I mean, I'd like to see it a little bit more like this, but I'm no tire expert, so you know, but I definitely like it. You can also see it's not quite as wide. Like there's a little bit of a gap there, whereas this GT tire comes right out to the edge and hangs over the hub a little bit. All right, I'll throw this on here real quick. Go for a little rip around the shop. See if this footage is any good of me riding this around. I'm hoping that maybe you can see how the tire flexes. Okay, let's give this a shot. The shop's a complete wreck right now, but gives me some obstacles to carve around if nothing else. Yeah, hopefully you can see just how smooth this is. Nice tight turns like this. Let's go see if I can go down my ramp here without knocking my camera off. All right, yeah. I don't know how this footage is going to turn out, so. But try and make some nice tight turns here. Should be able to see that roll right up on the corner. Much smoother than the Vega. All right, let's see if we can go back up the ramp. All right, well, I'll have to see how that turned out, but hopefully you can get a good visualization of how it handles on concrete. And this is actually kind of a good test for it, because when you're on like a nice smooth surface like this, smooth hard surface, you can really see how it breaks over that edge, and whether it wants to like tip over when you get right up on edge. And this is nice and smooth. Now I'm going to get out and go ride some trails with it and see how it does with all that stuff. All right, so I just got done taking this thing for a spin. I didn't take any footage of it. For one thing, it's dark outside, and I don't know, you can't really tell much from watching somebody ride around on it. So I took it down some rocky trails, I took it down some rutted trails, and I took it over some firewood. And played with it a little bit. I love the way it handles on everything except the mud. It gets squirrely as hell in the mud, which is most tires. The only one that I've found that doesn't get really squirrely in the mud is that Vega rain tire, and maybe the Pioneer will be good. So, you know, I know the West Coast guys don't have to worry about mud all the time, but, you know, up here in the Northeast, I'm gonna be riding in mud for the next month at least, maybe 2, because it's getting into mud season now. So doesn't do good in the mud, but it really rides the ruts a lot better than that Vega. Like the Vega, because of that hard edge, you hit a rut and it just wants to whip you right around. So yeah, really happy with it. I think it's the best tire out there for the 5-inch, but if you're gonna ride in the mud, or if you ride in the Northeast like me, riding in mud season, you might get yourself a Vega and swap them out. You know, it's a little bit of a pain, but you know, 20 minutes, you can get it down to 20 minutes if you practice. So I think that's it. Really happy with the tire. I got that front tow hook, if you're wondering about that. That's from Joe Hooks. He's on Instagram. Tech rails those are the 357 tech rails from onewheelparts.com. So they have a 3.5 degree cant in the front and a 7 degree in the back for 10 degrees. Gives me a whole bunch more clearance. They're really not necessary if you're not going to go off-road. Just stick with the stock rails. They work great. But this is also a removable fender here too. So I can get in there and clear out all the mud because it gets built up and then it'll slow your tire right down. So that's from the Float Life. So that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more videos and content, or if you want to see stuff on my race car. I'm going to be getting this thing put back together, putting a new intake and air cleaner on it, and hopefully getting it out and ripping it this spring some and racing it hopefully beginning of May, I think, is the first race. So thanks for watching, like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys later.